Another video from digitallifestyle.com. This is a new collection for the Korg Wavestate. This is the Genesis collection. This is something loads of people asked me about since I did the Modwave Genesis collection. So this has been ported over here to the Wavestate. And I say ported over, what I've actually done is just done it by ear. I've recreated some of those sounds. Very different synth, the Modwave and the Wavestate. So it's not like I could just take a sawtooth wave that had been modified on the Modwave and then bring that over. They just work differently. So these are using samples on the Wavestate. On the Modwave they're using digital waveforms, but I took samples and I've used like 2600 sawtooths and other samples and brought those together. It does have some other advantages though. I've actually do some more rhythmic stuff with it as well. So I've gone from old stuff, Watcher of the Skies, all the way up to Alien Afternoon from Calling All Stations. There's a few others which I've added in that are not quite exact matches, but you'll get the idea as well. So this is the collection. So I'll just go through some of these now. There's no user samples in this. These are all built into the Wavestate, so you can just download the performances and programs and you don't have to install any samples. So we've got ABACAB Organ. This is useful for a lot of Genesis stuff really. It's effectively it's an organ, but we've got some chorus on there. Tony Banks didn't use Leslie. I used various choruses, so I put some chorusing on there. So there's a few different ones again, but I've used the vintage chorus on this one. I mentioned Alien Afternoon. I like this one because it's a really digital sound. I think it was either an Ensoniq VFX, it could have been a D50, or it could have been a Wavestation. I think it was the Ensoniq, but here's the sound anyway. It's got a real digital sound to it, and I've created that using a few layers here, but I've used the warm pad from the Wavestation, Spectrum, and another Wavestation. So it's 3 Wavestation sounds that I've layered together. And it gives you that real sort of digital sound on there. Now, Tony Banks used a Wavestation on a lot of the tracks on We Can't Dance, Fading Lights being one of them, and I've recreated the pad sound that Tony used, which is the warm strings. I've got that as a separate patch we'll come to later, but I've layered it as well. So I've layered it as well. So if you want, there's a clean version of it, which I'll show. It's a really nice pad sound. So that's the standalone version of it. So this is the solo sound from that track. Some poly aftertouch on there. And actually I've got 2 versions. I've got the mono version. And then later in the song, Tony Banks plays the polyphonic version of it. He edited the patch to change it to the polyphonic version. And here you can see the sequence that I'm using for this. This sequence is built into the Wavestate, so you can go and import this mini lead wave sequence in. And here you can see, and I've checked this with, I've got the virtual version of the Wavestate, and this is how they did it on the Wavestate. So it's really well done on the Wavestate, brought in from the Wavestation. So here you can see it's using the mini sample, mini Moog sample, but it's all these different ones that it evolves in. And that's what makes this sound so alive. So that's why I really like that one. So to go with that, I've recreated the drum part almost. It's not the same, but it's something that you could use. So that's in it, and that wave sequence there, you can see the drum part. So I played about with a few different ideas for doing that. I'm not actually using that shape lane, but you get the idea. So anybody use the ARP Pro Soloist, and so I've recreated some of those sounds on here. So this one, on the Pro Soloist, it goes from the pulse wave to more of a square wave because they were trying to emulate the sound of a guitar feeding back. So this is where we're emulating sounds, but originally it was going to be the original was copying a guitar sound, guitar lead. So there you can hear they've got that, and I'm using the wave sequence to start on the pulse and go to the square. So that's one of them. The other one I've done is the cage sound from Pro Soloist. I also an Odyssey as well used at various times. Tony Back's used different synths to the different eras, but so this is my version of it. I can't play the cage solo, so I'll play something that gives you a feel for the sound. Play after touch on this as well. You can hear that play after touch. Telstar, that's another Pro Soloist sound. So this is Telstar, another Pro Soloist sound that Tony used, and trumpets on there. Get the idea. So that's the Pro Soloist trumpet. I've thrown some bass pedals, the Taurus bass pedals. Always handy for a Genesis track. And then when I did it in the intro, the behind the lines brass section, I think it was done with a CS80 or a Prophet's 10. I think it might be a CS80. So you can hear that big brass sound, and for that what I've done is I've just used two polysynths using a sawtooth wave, octave apart, and some pitch modulation on the tuning to give it that. Tony also combined it quite often with the CP80, the electric grand piano, the Yamaha electric grand piano, CP70. So what I've done with this one is, I think live, they were using it with the polysynth and CP. So I've layered those together. So there you've got the CP and the polysynth. It's quite useful for a few Genesis tracks, that one. And I've just split the CP out on its own. that simple of just using the electric round sample that's in there. I've also layered it with a string sound as well. So and here I've got some play after touch on that string. And you can use the mod wheel as well. I've gone through to the 80s Invisible Touch album, Domino. This is the one exception that does use a sample, actually. I forgot to mention it earlier on. This is from the Fairlight collection, so you can download and install that from digitalize.com. So this is, if you don't install the collection, this one won't work, but the rest will. So that's the using the Fairlight R sound. So this is the only one that won't work. We've got the flute that's used in Domino. It's in the beginning section. And this is at the end of part 1. That's that bit. And then we've got the solo. And then the pitched solo. That one uses a pitch envelope on the so there's just a bit of pitch attack on there that gives it that effect. I mentioned fading lights earlier, actually. I did split this as well. So those are the combination of the one pad and the split sound. Follow me? So the next one is from the Undertow Brass, which is based off the Tony Banks sound of For the Undertow from Curious Feeling, Tony Banks solo, really good solo album. But it had some big brass sounds in it. I think they're CS80s, so bit of play after touch as well. So I've layered that with two brass sounds, CS80 type brass sounds. One is using a low pass filter. Both are using a low pass filter, and just to get that bit, we've got pitch modulation and so on. So just get a nice big brass sound. This one is the solo that's right at the end of Home by the Sea. It's got sort of digital sound there. I think it was used on the synclavier. So I've combined some of the... So I've just used the Wavestation sound to do that. So a nice simple sound. And then you've got the lead sound from Home by the Sea. Again, we've got play after touch, but you can see here I'm using the effect, using the wave sequencing to go through that. So basically what I did is I took the mini lead sound and sort of modified it. I'm pretty sure on the live versions from the We Can't Dance tour, it was all Wavestation anyway, but the original is definitely a synclavier. But I took that sort of inspiration from the Wavestate here. So it's like a bell sound that's running through the second half bar of the C, while Mike Rutherford's playing the guitar solo. Again, it's definitely synclavier type sounds. You can see it on the Invisible Touch tour when he's playing that, it's on the synclavier. So for that, what I did is I went with some of the vector synthesis waveforms, the VS synth waveforms that are in the Wavestate. So these waveforms are actually from the Prophet vector synthesis. Prophet went bust. Some of the people from Prophet include Dave Smith, went to work with Yamaha, which were part owners of Korg at the time. So you've got the SY22, I think, the vector synthesis, and then you've got the Wavestate, which had vector synthesis and wave sequencing, and those vector synth waveforms are all in here. So there's loads of them. They sound great actually. So quite good fun playing with those. So you get nice digital sound from them. Invisible Touch, live from the We Can't Dance tour. Tony Banks used a JD800, and I've recreated the sound that he did on there. It's a multi-layered sound, velocity sensitive. So using various waveforms, but I've layered those up. A lot of you see I've got the programs of these as well, so you can try those. So we've got like a pad sound from Emma. So we've got that sort of big pad sound. Using sawtooth again, a bit of pitch shifting on those. Again, that was using sawtooths. And we've got the ghost sound. But to me it sounds like a ghost sound. Another synclavier sound, and I use some of the Wavestate, in fact just a single waveform from the Wavestate there. And then the organ sound, which I've used a square wave to modulate the envelope at the frequency, the filter. So I've used a square wave to modify the filter on that one to produce that. So I've included a few Mellotron sounds in here because Tony Banks is a big user of Mellotrons. So we've got flute and brass. Just standard tape strings used on loads of stuff, wind and wuthering. Great sound. And of course used on Watcher the Skies. On Watcher there is Tony Banks used the tape brass and the 3 violins. I think he put the selector, which is on tape heads, isn't it, with tapes going round and round, and each tape has a different sound on it, and he used the selector in between to get the 2 sounds at the same time. So that's where you get this kind of sound. Really is a great sound, and I can see why Tony Banks like that. It doesn't sound like anything else you'd heard of at the time, does it? When it's used on Watcher of the Skies. I know Tony Banks grew to really hate the Mellotron because it's unreliability, but it does sound brilliant. We've got a phased organ, so you could use this on a number of Genesis tracks. So we've got the Quadra sound from ABACAB. So this is a sawtooth, but it's detuned or tuned. So this is a sawtooth, but then with the fifth height. And one off Duke alone tonight. A really sort of mellow organ sound, which I really like. So. So I've used that. That's not alone tonight, but that's the sound that I created for it. So it's a nice mellow organ sound. Doesn't use organ patches. It uses sine waves to recreate an organ. I was trying to think how Tony Banks was doing it then. I think it's done on a Prophet 5 or a Prophet 10, which isn't an organ, but using those waveforms to get that sort of effect. And we've got a Quadra phased organ as well, so I took that Quadra sound, Quadra organ, and phased it. So the RMI electric piano, famous, used by Tony Banks on carpet crawlers, a lot on Lammers down Broadway, a lot live as well, has quite a distinctive sound. So I had a couple of goes at creating it. I'm not going to try and recreate Tony Banks' double-handed, two-handed technique where he crosses over himself, but you can hear those sounds, and this is another version of it I created. I think the second one's slightly better. When I originally created this on the mod wave, I used ring modulation between the two oscillators to get the effect, and I think it came out pretty spot on. On the Wavestate, you haven't got ring modulation between the two oscillators, but you have got a ring modulation effect, so I've used that on the second one. So that's a single layer. So both of these use ring modulation, because when I was doing the mod wave, I used the ring modulation between the two oscillators to get the effect that I liked. On this one, on the Wavestate, you can't use the ring modulation for the two oscillators, but you can use it as an effect. So I think this is probably the closest one. So this is from Tonight. I was playing about this. It's close. It's not exactly right, but it's an interesting effect anyway. So it's not exactly there. I think it was done on it sounds a bit like a DX7 to me. You can't do FM modulation. You can't do FM on the Wavestate. But I've used some of the samples and combined with some spectrum and the some Wavestation type of sounds as well to try and get that. Now the next one is a bit of an experiment really. I wanted to have a go at recreating some rhythmic parts, so I thought I'd have a go with Tonight. So this is not Tonight, but it is a good example of using the drums in a wave sequence. So there you can hear it. So you can see it going through there. So you can see there I've got multiple layers on it. I've got that drum section there. I've got the tambourine part. And then I put the pad sound with it as well. So it's not Tonight, but it gives you a close approximation and an idea of how you can use the drums in that. It's quite a complex sequence. I think I could get it pretty much spot on if I did it in a DAW, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do it using the Wavestate sequencer. And then those final three are the ones I demonstrated earlier there, the Wavestate mini lead, mini lead polynome. So those final three are the ones I demonstrated earlier. So that's the Genesis collection, maybe volume 1, I'm not sure. If there's more Genesis sounds you want me to recreate for the mod wave or the Wavestate, then let me know. Leave a comment. I've enjoyed programming the Wavestate. It's a different way of programming than it is on some other synths. Takes a bit of getting used to, but the more you get into it, the more you can do. So please, I would love your suggestions for Genesis sounds. I've had some questions, people asking me if I would be bringing over the Pink Floyd sounds from Mod Wave to the Wavestate. It's something I'll think about. Just leave a comment, let me know what you'd like for your Wavestate. Please like and subscribe if you do like it, it really helps me out. Thanks for watching this video. They're all a free download from thedigitalized.com, and I want to thank everyone that supported, sent the donations and tips in. Really do appreciate that. You can find all the links in the video. So I'll see you on the next one.